What's up, friends? How we doing? It's a weird day over here. Gonna do some NS10 misbehaving. I want to go through all of these that I've kind of collected and amassed through the years from the Atmos experiments I was doing to now I just want to pick one set that's going to be like my go-to NS10 set, because I know I have some in here that sound better than others, and I thought this would be a really cool opportunity to just kind of measure and compare everything that we have, because you know, we have some that have the OG parts, the OG like from the 70s, like I'm talking wherever you are, like the OG Yamaha NS10 from the 70s that came out that had this kind of bright tweeter that everybody was always complaining about. And then in the 80s, everybody started making brighter music, doing way too much cocaine, and they needed a speaker that was just going to be a little more, you know, tissue paper over the tweeter kind of vibe. So then they came out with this tweeter. So we got some with the original tweeter, the updated 80s version, the horizontal ones that have that tweeter. They have the same driver. And then we have some of the Aurotone replacement tweeters that you can do. We have some CLA 10s we're going to try out. We have some that have these gray ref tone mid and low drivers, and some of the black ref tone mid and low drivers. We have some very, very beat up NS10 OG cones. We also have some Bold North replacement cones and some Aurotone replacement cones. Coming around to the back, we have a lot of these that have the original crossover. We have some that have Gerhard Westphalen's modded crossover. We have a set that has the infamous Fuse edition mod. So, these ones have the fuses too. And the CLA 10s are active, so we'll be able to kind of hear how that ends up going. We're going to set these up in my favorite orientation, boombox style, and we're going to test them way up high as to avoid any sort of boundary. We're going to have the NS10s right up here. We're going to have one measurement mic that points directly into the center in between the tweeters and the drivers. It's going to record sine sweep, pink noise, and then some mix tests, all in stereo, and then left, and then right. And we're going to be able to just blast through all these, and I'm going to make sure that you guys have the files as well if you want to compare. And in the end, I'm hoping we can draw some conclusions like this driver works best with this tweeter, and this crossover sounded better than this one, and the CLA 10s totally suck. Maybe not, who cares? We're going to see, we're going to find out, and I'm going to find my ultimate set of NS10s. I can't wait. Let's do this. The first set. Here we go. Oh, we're definitely gonna need to tape that down so that everything's in the same spot. Doesn't have to be a perfect science, but the goal is to get in here and swap in the new sets without moving anything, and I think we'll be in good shape. I'm not as worried about the position of the mic as I am with it just being consistent from take to take. So the key is gonna be to just not touch anything. All right, what's up? Here is the Pro Tools session that I have. This was what I used to send the audio, these tracks that are labeled in black. We have a stereo audio track, left and then right. These were feeding out to the monitors, and this was actually panned left and that was panned right as well. But for referencing now, I'm keeping it all panned straight up. And then down here below are all of the recordings of the speakers that feature the reference mixes and the pink noise and everything that was sent through. And over here in REW, I have all of the measurements of these different speakers. So as I kind of play through some of this stuff, I'll include pictures of these, but I'm going to include both the REW file and the Pro Tools session file in the show notes in the description below. So you can just link, that's going to be a Dropbox link. You can download this stuff and check it out if you're really curious. So here's a little bit of info about these reference tracks. I'm not going to be able to play most of these because of copyright stuff on YouTube, but these are songs that primarily consist of high gain heavy guitars, which are really just revealing, I think, for displaying the resonances and imperfections in a monitoring system. Because high gain guitars are sort of just pink noise, right? And white noise, and it just shoots out signal. So what I find is that with NS10s, if you measure the low driver by itself without the tweeter connected, like it measures really flat.
And then if you measure the top end of the tweeter by itself, it measures really flat. The flaw of the system was the crossover, and the components were just cheap. The crossover was really what made this thing that horrendous resonant mid-range bump around 1.6K, about 7.5 dB up most of the time. I mean, you're going to hear on these samples, there are, depending on which crossover it is, which drivers are there, the age of the unit, the age of the crossover, just how beat up these things are, whether somebody added a modification with the fuse. There are so many factors that come into play, but every one of these sound different. And you can really, really hear them whistling and screeching and buzzing, and it's quite amazing. So really quick, what I did is you've got the stereo track that played through as I was just recording each speaker, and then the left mono track, and then the right mono track. And for those of you that are going to ask, the left and right tracks that played by themselves are not summed mono versions of these mixes. It's just the left channel 1 of the mastered mixes that just play through here. So the songs we have American Idiot, Rascal Flatts Rewind, Sea of Tragic Beasts, I don't even remember what that band is, Architects, I don't remember what song that is, Turnstile, well, I don't know what song that is, track 2 off that latest album, love it. These are just high gain guitar references that I just know and I understand. So when you get this session, you can play through and you can A/B every one of these sets of speakers. And I have all the model names set up over here, as well as little descriptions of what they have, what the components are inside, and hopefully you can kind of draw some conclusions. And we have 4 different CLA10s at the bottom, because these have this VTPC, which is essentially a tweeter control. And, we have them at 0%, 25%, 50%, and 100%. And those are kind of cool to run through. So I want to start with this Architects thing, and I really hope we don't get flagged from YouTube. This will be a really tremendous experiment, I think, to find out if reamping a song through a bandpassed speaker is going to trigger and flag any sort of copyright use. So we're going to find out. And if you're hearing this, and if you hear this Architect song, it means it worked and we made it through. So I'm going to play 2 bars of this, maybe not 2 bars, but 2 parts of this loop of the straight up original file. It's a mono file. And then after that, these are going to play one after another. That is so incredibly interesting to me to listen to. So yeah, as you can tell, the CLA with the VTPC set to 100 is completely unusable. I think at 50% it's unusable. In retrospect, I really do wish that I had done a 10%, 20%, 30, 40, 50, all the way up to 50, because I think somewhere in between there you really could get some things dialed in. I want to know what your favorites are, or at least what kind of conveys the closest to the original file. So for example, I'm sitting in front of my Strauss monitors right now and I'm listening to this. So I listen to the original file, and what my goal is for selecting, or at least comparing these NS10s, is I want to find the one that is going to recreate the raw audio as closely as possible. Yeah, let's compare these. We've got my OG favorite set that I used for a long time, and then another OG 80s set with these black ref tone cones. Let's compare both of those, just A/B. Let's just go back and forth. Okay, let's compare an OG 80s set with the new Bold North replacement woofers versus an all OG 80s set. Here we go. So on the all OG set, there's this kind of shh. And, we got to ask ourselves, is that useful? Is that pertinent information? Was that there in the original recording? Let's go find out. Okay, and let's compare with the 80s set with the Bold North woofers. Okay, here's the original. So there is a little bit of that in the original recording. So that's something we also got to remember. Okay, moving on to the like very next thing I want to show, and I'm really curious if this is going to trigger some copyright flagging. So it's going to play 2 bars of this on the original recording. So just the straight up like left channel of the master, and then it's going to go through and play the recorded speaker versions. Here we go. And then lastly, I have pink noise test. And this is really revealing too. I just want to loop this pink noise, just the straight up file, so we can all kind of acclimate to what that should be. Okay, that's straight up pink noise. Here comes that straight up pink noise file, followed by the speakers being recorded. God, I love that. It's been really interesting to draw conclusions about, what might be causing me to lean in favor of certain designs over others. But ultimately, I want to hear what you guys think. Like, please let me know what your favorite set is. Dig into these files. It's also been really interesting to look through the REW files and because looking at the CLA 10s when they're at 25%, these by far measured flatter than any other speaker out there. So it seems like Aurotone has figured out how to soften 1.6K to make that a little more, accurate. And on paper, these measure flatter than anything, but you guys just got to decide for yourself, is flat response what I want in a tool? Does that necessarily equate to perfect sound? And does it make it a better work tool? Ever since I did this modded one, way back when, here they are. This was my original set, the Japanese ones with the modded crossover, doing everything I could to mitigate that big bump. Technically, worked out pretty well and flattened out the speaker. But in my opinion, it takes away all of the magic that makes the NS10s so special and makes them so useful. A lot of the mixing that I do these days is getting it to sound right on the Strauss monitors and then going to AirPods and realizing, wow, there's this terrible resonant peak where the crossover is on those tiny little drivers between the mid driver and the tweeter, and it's right in the middle of where the vocals live. And this was the thing back in the day, and this is how two-way systems were, and that's why everybody loved the NS10 vibe, was because a lot of these old car stereos and two-way systems and Kraco systems, they had a two-way design with a bad crossover that was placed right in the middle of the vocal range, which created a whistle, a resonance, harshness. So you really needed to mix to soften things out for where those crossovers cause that distortion, and the crossovers cause that terrible, terrible thing to happen. And I think that's what's so special about NS10. So my whole goal with this is not to find ones that sound smooth or perfect or flat. I want those speakers to have that bump at 1.6K. Plus, I'm just so used to that by now. But some of the surrounding whistles, I think there's just a way to get one that sounds the most musical. And in this batch, there are 2 speakers here that are absolutely remarkably musical sounding. I want to know what you guys think they are, but I have 2 pairs here, and it's not the ones I'm highlighting. Well, it might be one of them, but yeah, there are 2 here that are completely just special and amazing. So if you want to compare the 70s tweeter versus the 80s tweeter, because everybody claims that they're super, super different. The 70s tweeter was the one that everybody put the tissue paper over, and then the 80s tweeter is the one that has a piece of foam in a circle around, underneath to sort of, I don't remember the term, but to soften things basically and make it a little bit darker and softer. On this wooden set, this is actually the set that my assistant Jackson has over at his house right now. This one is the right speaker. The right speaker has the 80s tweeter, and over here is the one that has the 70s tweeter. So listen to the difference as we poke through. But I definitely hear it, that it's a little bit brighter on the left versus the right. But that's really all I got for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you're going to have some fun digging through this stuff. This was a really fun test to do. Let me know what your faves are. All right, talk soon, y'all. Bye.